The silent victory. Why winning an online argument is your biggest loss. Imagine a peaceful Monday morning. You wake up, brew a warm cup of coffee, and feel energized for the week ahead. You pick up your phone and scroll through your newsfeed, hoping to find something inspiring. But then a status update catches your eye from a stranger or perhaps an old acquaintance. It is a bold assertion, a viewpoint you find utterly wrong, irrational, or even offensive to the core values you hold dear. Perhaps it is a distorted take on a historical event, a criticism aimed at your faith, or simply someone intentionally twisting obvious scientific facts. Instantly, an electric jolt runs down your spine. Your heart rate quickens. The ego monster within you awakens. You think, I cannot let this slide. I must teach this person a lesson. I must defend the truth. You start typing. It begins with calm analysis and cited evidence. However, instead of being convinced, the opponent fires back with sarcasm and personal attacks. The war erupts. You spend the entire morning, then the entire afternoon, constantly checking notifications and drafting the sharpest, most devastating rebuttals. You mobilize every intellectual resource to crush the opponent's logic. Finally, after hours of tension, the debate ends with both sides blocking each other in extreme frustration. You might have delivered irrefutable arguments, you might have gained a few likes from other strangers, but look back. The world remains the same. The other person is as stubborn as ever, and only one thing has vanished: the peace and precious energy you originally intended for your beautiful Monday. Why do we fall into this trap so easily? Why do the smartest people often do the most meaningless things on the internet? Today, we will look deep into the nature of conflict through the lenses of Buddhist philosophy and modern psychology to find the answer. The first issue we must face is the addictive and haunting nature of arguments. We often delude ourselves into thinking we are participating in a dialogue to seek the truth. But in reality, we are walking into a trap meticulously designed by our own minds. In the Makata Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha told a haunting story about entanglement. In the Himalayas, hunters set traps using very sticky resin to catch monkeys. A greedy monkey comes along. It touches the resin with one hand out of curiosity and gets stuck. To free itself, it pushes with the other hand, and the second hand gets stuck too. It tries to use its left foot to kick free, but the left foot sticks. It uses its right foot, and that sticks as well. Finally, in desperation, it bites the resin, hoping to free its 4 limbs, only for its mouth to be glued shut. The monkey lies there, all 5 points stuck in the resin trap, helplessly waiting for the hunter to decide its fate. Social media entanglement follows this exact process. The first touch. You write a comment to correct misinformation. You think it will only take a minute. The second touch. The opponent replies rudely. You feel insulted and must write a longer paragraph to defend your reputation. Stuck feet and mouth. You start searching for news links, taking screenshots of evidence, and monitoring every minute for their response. By now, your mind is glued tight by the resin of hatred. You no longer master your own attention. Modern psychology explains this through confirmation bias and the backfire effect. When we present evidence to refute someone's beliefs instead of changing their mind, their brain activates defense mechanisms similar to those used during a physical attack. Your evidence actually makes the opponent's misguided beliefs stronger. Referencing the concept of suffering in Buddhism, this entanglement is a form of voluntary misery. You imprison yourself in a mental hell where your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, and your mind constantly rehearses argument scenarios. You are stuck in the resin of vanity while the hunter, impermanence and time, approaches to take your life away. Why is it so difficult to convince a stranger online? Because we often forget that every human is a unique data system, built from decades of different experiences, education, and environments. As we have discussed before, the world you see is not a single objective reality. It is a unique translation by your mind. Imagine a torrential rain. You cannot stand before a parched farmer waiting for water and tell them the rain is a nuisance or nature's trash. To you, it might ruin an outing, but to them, it is life. When you argue online, you are trying to impose your translation onto a completely different reality. You aren't fighting for the truth. You are fighting a worldview molded by pains, hopes, and contexts you have never experienced. In the Udana, there is a classic story of the blind men and the elephant. A king gathered men born blind and placed an elephant before them. He asked each to describe what an elephant is. The one who touched the trunk said, "Your Majesty, the elephant is like a great snake." The one who touched the ear said, "No, it is like a winnowing fan." The one who touched the leg said, "It is like a pillar." The one who touched the tail insisted, "You are all wrong. The elephant is like a broom." They began to hit and curse each other, each believing they held the absolute truth while the others were fools. The internet is an arena of blind men touching an elephant. We see a slice of an issue through YouTube or Facebook algorithms, which only provide what we want to see, and believe it is the whole reality. When arguing, we aren't truly defending the truth. We are defending our narrow perspective. Deep down, the reason we want to win is to protect our ego. In Buddhism, the concept of non-self points out that there is no fixed, unchanging I. The opinions, beliefs, and preferences you defend to the death are actually data borrowed from society, family, and books. They are not you. When you feel angry because someone insults a movie you like or an idea you believe in, it is actually your false ego feeling threatened. You mistake the idea that my opinion is who I am. When you let go of this illusion, you will see that someone saying, "The earth is flat," or "This movie is bad," has nothing to do with your human value. Silence in the face of a wrong opinion is not cowardice. It is the mark of someone who understands non-self, someone who no longer needs to build sandcastles for the ego through comment threads. The final and most practical issue: how much time do you have to waste? In the Kula Malunkyavada Sutta, the Buddha gave the famous parable of the poisoned arrow. A man named Malunkyaputta went to the Buddha and demanded an explanation for all the mysteries of the universe. Is the world eternal? Where do people go after death? If not answered, he would give up his practice. The Buddha replied, "It is like a man struck by a poisoned arrow. When his family brings him to a doctor, he stops them and says, 'I will not pull this arrow out until I know who shot me. What is his caste? Is he tall or short? What wood is his bow made of? From what bird did the arrow's feathers come?'" The Buddha concluded that man would die before he ever found those answers. Arguing online is like sitting and asking questions about the arrow while your wound is bleeding out. That wound is the impermanence of life. Every passing second is a part of your life gone forever. You do not know how many years, months, or even days you have left in this world. Social media operates on the attention economy. Your attention is the most expensive currency. When you spend 3 hours arguing with an anonymous account, you are literally paying with your own life. You are trading precious moments that could be spent with loved ones, honing a skill, or simply sitting still to feel your breath just for a momentary sense of illusory satisfaction. Faced with the truth of death and impermanence, winning a debate over who is cooler or righter becomes laughably meaningless. An awakened person is one who pulls the poisoned arrow out immediately instead of analyzing its material. Pulling the arrow here means closing the app, putting down the phone, and returning to reality. Winning an online argument is like finding a pebble but dropping a diamond. The pebble is the victory of the ego. The diamond is your inner peace. We have covered 3 major issues. Entanglement. Like the monkey in the resin trap, the more we try to set things straight, the tighter we stick to hatred and lose our freedom. Limitation. Like the blind men and the elephant, we fight for narrow perspectives to protect a self that is essentially non-self. Waste. Like the man struck by the poisoned arrow, we forget the impermanence of life to chase useless questions while our time runs out. When you understand that every viewpoint is a result of dependent origination, every ego is an illusion, and every conflict is the root of suffering, you will gain a new power, the power of scrolling past. Next time you see a status that makes your blood boil, smile. Remember that the opponent might be someone in pain, someone starving for attention, or simply, as we've noted, a 9-year-old child trying to prove themselves. Give them your silence. That is not contempt. It is compassion for yourself and for them. Peace is not when the world around you is silent and everyone agrees with you. Peace is when you can stand in the middle of a sea of conflicting opinions, criticisms, and internet madness, yet your mind remains like a still lake. Today, instead of winning an argument, choose to win over yourself by putting the phone down. Because in the end, the greatest victory is not convincing the world that you are right, but mastering your own mind to always feel at peace amidst this impermanent life.